We have 60,000 thoughts a day, okay? 60,000 thoughts come into our head per day. That's like data. That's like getting information and data and storing it into your brain model. And then what happens is, through our process, through our model, we are then identifying intentionally and unintentionally. So the subconscious side of the brain unconsciously is grabbing that data and it's making decisions. Most of that data it already knows it, because 60,000 thoughts a day that you get, 95% is exactly the same as the day before, and not much is going to change unless you make an effort to change your brain model. Not much will change to the day you die. And so what happens is all these 60,000 information that comes into your head goes straight into your subconscious. Even when you're sleeping, you're getting all these thoughts going straight into your subconscious. Your subconscious now knows it, knows how to process it. It's actually bored. It actually gets bored of that information because it knows it's the same. Imagine getting the same information over and over again for the next 20, 30 years. Aren't you going to get bored? Imagine reading the same newspaper over and over and over again for the next 20, 30, 40 years. Isn't your brain going to get bored? Aren't you going to think, oh, is that it? Is this my life? Guess what? It's exactly what your subconscious brain is doing. It's doing that day in and day out. And that basically means that it's processing the same information, which means it's predicting the same outcome, which means you're making the same decision, which means you're doing the same actions. It's the 5% that we change. It's the 5% that we try to do something different. It's the 5%, oh, you know what? I feel good this week. I'll go and read that self-help book. I might go on some motivational speaker and feel good for 2 weeks. That's the 5%. But most of these motivational speakers and most of these talks and seminars and books, when you look at the data, and I'm in AI and I look at a lot of data, not much for over 95% of people changes long term. It's not because you don't have the potential, it's not because you don't have the capacity, because you do. It's because you have the wrong brain model. And you have what I call the traditional fixed mindset brain model, which is a surface type learning brain model, which has been taught to just reproduce information and follow a process to get a reward and then do that for the rest of your mind. Automate that. The problem with that is not much changes in your life and what you want. And when you think about AI, let's think about AI for one moment. We're building a bunch of machines, or a bunch of wires with electricity. That's what it is. A bunch of wires with electricity to self-learn, like a deep learner. So in other words, to give it its goal, this is your ecstatic desire. That's what we say to the AI. Nothing else matters in your life but this goal. This is what we say to the AI. This is your objection. This is your goal. This is what you have to aim for. Nothing else. Doesn't matter what's happening outside. That's what you're going to achieve. That's what your goal. So we give it the model. Here's a couple of the rules. And then what we do, we train it and we say, okay, you're going to have to take some risks. You're going to fail. You're going to make mistakes. But when you do fail and when you do mistakes, we also train the AI to assess its failures, to assess and analyze where it may have gone wrong, what skill set it needs. And what happens, it keeps updating its own model, keeps updating its own predictions. And when you update your predictions in your model, what happens is you change your decisions and you change your actions. Maybe you change your decisions and actions. That's what we're trying to. So when you change your predictions and you're changing your decisions and actions, it's like the aeroplane, right? We tilt it a little bit and it's going to end up in a completely different direction. The problem is most people don't change their predictions. In other words, they don't change their model in terms of when they see something, when they get information, they see it in exactly the same way and they process it exactly the same way and they get exactly the same outcome, and they realize, oh, but why doesn't anything change in my life? Why am I so unlucky? Why am I a victim? Why is everything so bad? Why it's his fault that I'm like this? No, wrong, it's your fault. Because you have an opportunity to change it. You are the only person that is 100% in control of this. You can control it. And now with AI, with the internet, with so much information, there's no excuse for you not to be able to control this. And once you update your brain model, or just like an AI, okay, we need the ecstatic desire. We need that desire when nothing else happens, and then every desire has a problem. And so what happens, we go through the process of getting to our desire. And as a deep learner, what deep learners do is they use old and new knowledge to solve problems towards a desire. So we're using the old and the new knowledge to solve problems towards a desire. And as you're doing that, as you're solving the problems, as you're jumping over a hurdle and you're jumping over that and you're failing and you're making mistakes, and when you fail, what most people do, they turn around and they say, well, I'm not good enough. I can't do that. I don't have the skill sets. And what typically happens, we regress, we procrastinate, we drink, we go out with our buddies, we gossip for 2 hours, we're on social media, and there's a lot of time wasting. There's a lot of time wasting and there's a lot of self-doubt. The two things, the two cancers, the two killers that will stop you as a deep learner to getting to your ecstatic desire is time wasting and self-doubt. Time wasting and self-doubt. You have lots of time. You have plenty of time. You have 24 hours a day. It's so much time there. Any piece of time where you are not moving towards your ecstatic desire is wasted time. It's time you're never going to get back. And you know what's happening? Your self-doubt. Your self-doubt is basically kicking in and saying, well, you know what, let's leave this tomorrow. Let's have a good time today. Let's have a whiskey. Let's go out with our mates. Let's do all these great things and let's don't worry about that. And mind you, you know what, you're not probably capable of doing that anyway, where you want to go. That's what your self-doubt's doing. And you start to scroll and start to go on social media and start to gossip and start to do all this stuff that's probably time wasting and go outside and do things that have no relevance or no gain or no movement towards that ecstatic desire. And when that happens, and you do that over and over and over and over again, it becomes a habit. That becomes your ritual. And before you know it, you have wasted years. And you've wasted years. And then you end up at a period of your time where you're saying, and I hear this all the time from people. I hear this all the time from people that are my age. Ross, I had this idea first, and if I had money, or if I had a dad that, had $1 million, I would have been a billionaire. Or I should have not listened to that person, I should have done that. Or I stayed at that company for 5 years too long, and it was my wife's fault, my ex-wife's fault, because she held me back. Wrong. That's all wrong. Totally 100% wrong. It's your fault. You made the decision. And the reason why you made the decision is simple. Very simple. It doesn't take rocket science. Brain model.